Howdy mates, good afternoon, how are we all doing? It is a special day. It is Friday, April 22nd, 2022. And for those of you who have followed my work for quite some time, you know that this marks a very special day for me. It is the famous Earth Day. And the best part about it is actually celebrated globally, not just in the United States. So personally, since it is international, I kind of wish that it would have been a day off work, paid in addition. But today I'm actually going out for a decent stroll at the Minnesota Scrub Preserve. So for those of you who have followed my content for some time, you've probably seen me do past videos at this place. And, you know, it's been a little while since I've been out here, so I figured this would be a good spot to go. And in addition, I'm also carrying a recyclable bag, picking up any trash that we may find along the way. And I have already seen quite a bit, which honestly doesn't really surprise me. Sometimes it's difficult for me to understand why it's common practice, you know, I don't know, just the disrespect. You know, when I think about a matter like that, you know, when it comes to littering, I like to, you know, try to use a little bit of empathy. So, like, think for example, you know, you're at your house, someone comes to visit, and you figure that while they're over visiting your place, they may have brought over a couple of things, and they just decide to basically trash your house. Now, when you think about that, would you be very happy? Would you be like, yeah, you know, just keep trashing my place, make it look like absolute shite? No, of course not. Of course we want our place to look tidy and neat. Well, think of it the same way as the earth, of course, being our home, but of course on a much larger scale. You know, like you wouldn't even want your yard littered. So it's like, even though it may not be our trash specifically, you have to know that it's still our planet, too, that we all share among each other. So that's why back in 1969, Earth Day actually it wasn't until 1970 until Earth Day became a designated international recognized day. But it was in 1969 as to where that was the year the idea of it came to be. And actually the idea of Earth Day is quite fascinating to me. It actually started in the United States by a recognized senator by the name of Gaylord Nelson. Now, what he noticed was there were some large oil spills along some waterways in Santa Barbara, California. And it was actually that same year of the infamous chemical waste disposal in the Cuyahoga River, which is up in Cleveland, Ohio. So you figure, you know, back during this time, there really wasn't as much monitoring when it came to waste disposal and even emissions. So it was Gaylord Nelson's idea to basically bring it up among the powers that be, and eventually, several universities throughout the United States were in high support of it, because they were really starting to recognize what kind of issues were present. So this idea of Earth Day eventually became global, and now it's even designated with the United Nations. So it's quite a big deal. So, with that being said, we used to have a huge issue when it came to emissions, right? Especially with CFCs, which is just an abbreviation for saying chlorofluorocarbons. It's kind of a mouthful, but that's obviously why it's abbreviated. But these CFCs, what they did was, they were very detrimental to the ozone layer. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the ozone layer, it's basically composed of O3, which basically it's like an oxygen atom, but it has an additional one. Like oxygen is O2, but then you add another oxygen atom to the O2, and it creates O3, also known as ozone. But it is in our atmosphere, and the ozone layer is primarily responsible for protecting us and all living things from ultraviolet radiation. So back to the point I was making, back in the 1970s, the United Nations held conferences to basically put an end to the use of CFCs, to make them illegal. And, of course, it became successful. So that's really the point, is, sometimes you can't have someone say, oh, well, you're all alone carrying this idea. That's not necessarily true. All it actually takes to start something is one person. So even if you have that influence to just one or two people, you're already winning. And that type of concept can be applied to anything in life, especially when you want to influence something, make a change. So that example of CFCs just proved that, the governments, I should say, not just one government, they were actually willing to listen to the scientists, the researchers, the people actually doing the work to understand the problem. And I feel that same cooperation is very crucial, especially today, in the face of climate change, especially. So it's like in this case, we want to repeat history, not in the detrimental sense, but in the sense of cooperation among different groups of people throughout the world to promote a positive change. It is capable of happening. We just have to be willing to listen. So, alright, you guys, I may share an article, just regarding more about how Earth Day came to be. But I didn't want to just talk about the history of Earth Day. I kind of wanted to talk about, some call to action. And really, this call to action needs to apply to our next generation, because they're going to be the crucial factor of how basically the standing of Earth's health. They're the next step. They'll either save, or they'll be about the money instead. But all I know is you can't eat money. Nope. So it's like, all in the end, is it really worth it? Is it really worth the money? No, it is not. So, alright you guys, thanks for taking the time to listen to this video. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your weekend too. Journey on a journeys outwards. Take care, mates. See ya.